Skov here, father of 2 kids who've been working and training at Ants Mind and Body. I think now for the last 6 or 7 years. Brought my eldest kid here. I think was a 9th grader. My youngest son was a 7th grader, so 15 and 12, 14 and 12, or 15 and 13, and been here consistently ever since. And probably, got to be honest with you, one of the best decisions I've made as a parent was getting them involved with Ants Mind and Body. And it goes way beyond just weight training and the weight gains that they've made. It's taught them about, if you want to be good at something, it's going to require hard work. It's, you know, hard work to be good at sports is a metaphor for anything in life. Hard work, become a good student, be good in a relationship, be a good worker, always requires hard work. So kind of the training they get here and the value of hard work to be good as an athlete translates to lots of things. And beyond that, you know, just coming in here and the values that Ants Mind and Body instills in any number of ways about being respectful of other people, being supportive of other people, appreciating what you do when you do it. There's just a lot of different values. It's not just about the weight training that goes on in here. And as a parent, I've always been really satisfied and appreciated that when I bring my kids here. I know that they're getting training in lots of different ways. From an athletic perspective, and from just a pure training perspective, it's been extraordinary what's happened with my own 2 boys. Like I said, I brought them in here when they were young, so I've been able to see if one commits to training and then puts themselves in the hands of professionals, competent professionals, some of the gains that can be made are just extraordinary, and it can really set you apart from your peer group, certainly at the high school level and then at the college level, but certainly at the high school level, because most high school students aren't getting, or at least not committing to really high level of training on a regular, ongoing basis. And so if your kid comes into Ants Mind and Body and gets that sort of training, they simply have a distinct and measurable advantage over their peers, and you'll see the results on the field. There's no question about it. I think that's one of the reasons why Ant gets so much success and results out of the kids that come in here, because they feel good being in here. They feel like they matter and they're important, and that a kid who's playing JV basketball, who's working out in the same facility as a kid who's trying out for the NBA, feels just as important as the NBA kid. He knows that he's important to Ant because his success matters to Ant. Ant is committed to that kid and doing the best he can with every individual that comes in here, and the kids feel that, and it makes a difference. It's actually interesting. I always say this, and it's almost odd, but when my kids were young, they loved coming in here so much. And remember, this is weight training. Most people don't enjoy weight training. And so if you say you can't go weight training today, they'd be like, great, I don't have to go weight training today. In fact, with my own kids, and this is the God's honest truth, if I wanted to punish my kids, if they had done something wrong and I wanted them to feel like that was the wrong thing to do, what I would tell them was, you can't go to Ants today, or this Monday or this Wednesday or whatever. And that would be really upsetting to them, because I swear to you, they loved going to Ants. And it gets back to what I just talked about, because the Ant, for some reason, it's a really subtle thing, but he creates a culture in here where the kids love coming here to train. Ant makes them feel important. The other older athletes make them feel important. They know that they're getting stronger. They know that this is yet a step in a process to become where they want to get to. And you know, they didn't get to come into Ants a few times. And not only did they get stronger because they did eventually get in, but it also corrected the problems they were having in the house as well. So Ants is also a leverage point to improve your kids' study habits, washing the dishes, coming home on time, etc. So there's a lot of benefits here. One of the really neat or great things about coming into Ants is he's got really high-level athletes in here, local athletes. Those local athletes that are either currently in college sports or in fact trying to get from college sports to pro sports, or even some that are already in pro sports. And so when you have a 14 or 12-year-old come in and they see these other guys training, it's really, really impressive to them. And I tell you, after they get over like, oh, I'm training with these guys, then what sinks in is, wow, that guy's 6'7", and boy, I thought, he was born with all that, but they realize, no, they see how hard this guy's working to be and to get where he needs to be. My kids were really intimidated by these big, strong, hulking athletes. And I still remember the impression it made on my kids that when these big, hulking, really impressive athletes took time and interest in my children, and would ask that, remember their names. Hey, how's it going today? And hey, that's good. You lifted. That was a good lift for you today. I specifically remember I have a son named Patrick, and there's a back in the NFL that came out of Skyline and then played at Laney and then played at UNLV, a guy named Frank Sumners. And Frank Summers is just an extraordinary athlete. He's like 5'9", 250 pounds. I think at the time he was benching 400 pounds or something just extraordinary. And Patrick was like 13 years old and benching, probably less than 100 pounds. And Frank, Patrick would look at Frank lift just wide-eyed, and I'm sure like, oh my God, I'll never get there. And Frank would pay attention to Patrick when Patrick was lifting or when Patrick came in, or they would chit-chat and talk about football. And it made Patrick both feel really special and important, like he was one of the group, like he knew this guy. That gave him confidence. It also made him want to be more like Frank in the gym. And so he rededicated or recommitted himself to work even harder when he knew that this guy was both in the gym he was working at, but also a friend and supportive of Patrick. And it's really a unique atmosphere in Ants, Mind, and Body where you have the older, really established kids, not in here being aloof and indifferent and elitist towards the kids who have not yet made it but yet are working hard. They actually reach back and help those kids. That's the culture that's in here, and that's the culture that's really, I just tell you, it was extraordinary for my kids, and it helped them get them to where they are. What I enjoy about Ants, Mind, and Body is they don't, a lot of times trainers I've noticed will fixate or focus on like weight numbers, like, oh, I bench rep 225 X amount of times. And that's never the goal at Ants, Mind, and Body. Sure, they do that. For somebody that's trying to get to the combine, they'll focus on that and get that right. But really, that's not on a year-round basis. When they're training kids in here, that's never the goal. The goal is to make an explosive, well-rounded athlete that can operate in 360 degrees and project power and quickness and explosion in 360 degrees. And that's not something where you bet how many times you rep 225. In fact, if that were an important metric in football, they would put the bench on the 40-yard line and they would start the game by seeing how many people could rep 225 the most. Well, they don't do that as far as I can tell. They have football players hitting other football players in any manner of awkward positions on the field, and the people who are the strongest in the most amount of positions in a 360-degree circle are the best athletes. And that's what I'm familiar with football because my kids are football players, but that's what Ant focuses on: projecting agility, strength, power, and explosion in 360 degrees. And that's not something you measure on a bench press and how many reps you can do how many reps you can do with 225 pounds. That is my sense of what Ants, Mind, and Body's goal is. When they take an athlete, whether he's 12 and in CYO basketball in the 7th grade, or somebody that's training for the NFL Combine, their goal is to make them an explosive athlete such that they can produce results on the field, not necessarily on a bench. That's the goal.